What if I told you the only thing that's standing between you and earning $10,000 a month from your music was the way you're thinking? Forget the starving artist cliche. We know that's a lie. Right now, there's so many small artists that are proving you don't need millions of followers or a major label deal to win. You don't even have to be a household name. That's a lie. I saw some random dude post on one of my ads like, "You're not even a household name." And I was like, who told you had to be a household name? Like the very first way we made $10,000 a month was from touring, was playing shows, right? And I'm going to share how you can do that with Spotify and different other ways. By the way, my name's Chris, also known as the artist Manafest. You probably haven't heard of me. I've done like hip hop and rock music for over 15 plus years. We had a song in the Super Bowl and also in the Olympics last year. And I just love helping other artists. In fact, we have this Spotify 5-day challenge that we do every month. That's amazing. But in this video, I really want to break through the myths and give you actual strategies on hitting that goal of $10,000 a month. And maybe you're already doing more than that, but I hope this video still inspires you because everybody starts somewhere, right? And it's not about how you start, but it's about how you finish. And if I could go back in time, the one thing I would really change is I wouldn't have quit my job so soon. Like I went from working 5 days a week to 4 to 3, and then I did a couple leave of absences where it's like, hey, I'm going to go on tour for a bit, but then I'm going to come back and hopefully my job will still be there, which it was. But then eventually I signed to a label and quit my job completely, and I killed that income stream. And so if I can give the best advice from this video is keep your job while you're doing this. You don't want the added stress of now turning your art and having it to be commerce. You know, Rick Rubin talks about this in his new book where it's like, look, just make the best art you can and don't worry about whether it'll sell or whether it's trendy. Make the best art. That's where the genius is. That's where the fringe is, where the greatness, right? But when we're forced to be in this box, whether that's a genre box or TV film box, which I want to cover later, or, you know, just to try and sell and get on the radio or whatever, just do it just for the money, I feel that it really does take away from the art and it puts the stress on you that's not needed. Like, I would rather have not only my job income stream, but also now this new income stream from music. And then I can take both of those income streams and I can pour that into my music career and grow even faster, right? And then once the music one is so big, it's like, okay, I don't need that job anymore. But like, I quit way too soon. And the way we did it is like, when I started to take that Friday off, it was because so I could do more shows. So I could play more live shows. And not only did we get paid for the shows, but we would also sell merch. And if you submitted your forms or whatnot for, live shows, live performances, whether ASCAP or BMI or SOCAN, depending on where you're doing the show, you can also get paid for that, right? So you're earning all these different income streams just from touring and playing shows. And, you know, sometimes we had sponsors for the shows, whether that was like Compassion, World Vision, clothing brands like West 49. We had Circa one-time sponsors, like different skateboard brands, sometimes local businesses, real estate people, like all kinds of people wanted to support the local show, right? So there's a lot of different ways you could make that money just from touring and playing local shows. And sure, we started at like $500 a show. And then I was scared to go to $1,000 and then to $1,500 and to $2,000. And the most I ever made, I think, from a show was $11,000 plus all expenses paid, right? And then we did merch on top of that. So it was very lucrative. And that's nothing compared to what these bigger artists do out there, right? And the most we ever made from merch, I think, was maybe 18,000 in 2 days at like a conference kind of thing, right? And there's, again, artists doing crazier than that every single night. And not artists that you know their names of. I'm talking about artists that you've never even heard of that are just killing it. They might not be playing stadiums, but they're selling out theaters, they're selling out clubs and just crushing it. And you and I have never heard of them. But you got to be willing to start where you are. So if I want to make $10,000 a month, well, that's 10 shows at $1,000 each, not including merch. Okay? If we're doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, times 3, that's 9 shows. And then the fourth weekend, you just do 1 show, that's 10 shows, and then take the rest of the weekend off while you still have your job, right? And like, there's a lot of bars, clubs. I know there's people that play piano. I know there's people that do covers. There's so many different ways to get paid. And so you just got to figure out what's going to work for you. And it might not necessarily doing the exact music that you want to do, but while you're building your music career, sometimes you got to do what others aren't willing to do so you can have what others will never have. And you'll never have it unless you're willing to go put in the work. Like we slept on floors. We got paid barely anything. Sometimes we did shows for free, but because there was an audience there and we would sell merch. So maybe I didn't get paid for the show, but I sold a crazy amount of merch because there's thousands of people and I did a great job at the show. And the cool thing is when you do the show, the income goes up, right? The streams go up. Like that's always the cool thing is like, you go and play in front of all these people and then you see a little uptick, right? But the problem with touring, and I'm going to be talking about this on my Spotify 5-day challenge, and I hope you come and join us because there's Q&A, it's live, it's amazing, but it's a service-based business. You are providing a service. You are going to play live, and there's only one of you. And you can only be in one place at one time. And so there is a ceiling when it comes to touring. Even though it is very lucrative and it's a good way to get started, there's a ceiling because you can only play as many shows until you get exhausted, until you run your body down, you get sick, and there's just different things that go along with that, right? And this is where Spotify comes in, right? Where, you can do the work once, you upload the song, and then you market it online. You can market it by touring. But the coolest thing that happened to me was when the touring stopped and that income, when I decided to stop touring, that income dried up. I didn't get paid ever again. But you know what didn't stop is the streaming just kept on going from songs that were not just 1 year old, but 5 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old songs just kept crushing it, bringing in streams. And that's why, a lot of these different companies want to buy song catalogs from artists because they know the long tail and the long-term benefit of streaming. But the problem is, a lot of us, we just get caught up in that 0.003 cents or 0.005 cents, right? And that takes 3.3 million streams a month to hit the 10,000 mark, right? Approximately. That's 60 to 100,000 streams a day. And you know what? If you're getting, 6 streams a day, well, make your goal 60 and then 600 and then 6,000. You know what I mean? Like you got to set a goal. But like I always say, the problem with most of you artists isn't that you set goals too big and you miss it. The problem is you set goals too small and you hit it. And you need to dream bigger. You need to be shooting up there because even if you miss your goal, at least you'll land higher. What is it Les Brown says? Shoot for the moon because even if you miss, you'll land among the stars, right? So you got to think bigger, right? And I've talked my brains out about strategies to get more streams, and we talk about it on our Spotify challenge, but like you're either going to do it organic traffic, you're going to do collaborations, you're going to do ads, you're going to do TV and film placements, tour, or a mix of all of them. But the problem is you got to master one. Master one thing and focus on one thing, right? Like maybe you want to just stay at your job and you don't want to tour. Or maybe you do want to stay at your job and that's all you want to do is play shows. Or maybe you want to stay at your job and take all that extra money and just put it into online marketing, collabs, features, getting out there, you know what I mean? Just dumping it all online, right? And so we've done a mix of both of those. Now the third thing, and this is what I do full time besides, releasing music and marketing, I do the ads, I do songwriting, I don't tour anymore. But this third one for songwriting for TV film, when we get songs in TV film placements, like last year we got one in the Olympics, you should have seen our numbers just go through the roof for this ad that was in the Omega Watches, my song Born to Be a Legend. The streams just went through the roof for a while that song was getting played because people were Shazamming it, they're looking it up. And so not only, the exposure from the TV film placements or being in the movies or whatnot, but the payment. Like the payments are insane. Like normally the cap is like $1,000 to $1,500. Like that's where you start and you go up into the tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay. Like it's bananas. And it's not even just the big TV film placements. It's also, there's micro syncs, right? There's tons of companies out there. Like they change over the years from Envada to Pond 5, Music Bed, Song Trader. There's so many different companies out there and you want to be careful who you sign with. And if you're going to do an exclusive deal, you want to make sure you know the terms and when it ends, because if they ain't working your song, you don't want to just leave it there to die. You want somebody who's going to be working that song and get it out there. But you also got to understand that sometimes you got to be patient. Like sometimes our songs don't take off right away as far as TV film. Like I remember there's this one agency I was reaching out to and I kept sending songs. And, they turned me down on a bunch of them because it's like what we think is good for TV and film and what's actually works are two different things. And I was like, okay, I'm going to send her this one other song. and she freaking loved it. And I was like, oh, okay, good. I'm glad I sent it. And this is why you can never give up. You got to push forward. And it was literally like 3 weeks to a month. We had I think it was a $60,000 placement in this TV show because we got the promo. I think it was on ABC. I can't remember. It was my song "Come Back Home," and they loved it, right? And it was just crazy. And this is the thing. Like sometimes it takes off right away. Other times it takes like a year or a year and a half. Like this one song with the TV film Olympics. It was the same song in the Super Bowl and the same song in the Olympics. It took like a year and a half, 2 years for it to happen. But this is the thing. You got to stay in the game. Everybody starts at zero. Everybody starts from nothing. I can't compare myself to people who've been in it longer, who are studying, whether it's touring and really mastering that, or focusing on streaming and collaborations, or focusing on TV film, or whatever it is, right? And it's just like you are where you are. And it's not so much about where you are, but about where you're going and where you can be. Tony Robbins says people overestimate what they can get done in a day, and they underestimate what they can get done in a year. And so you need to have this long-term game plan in mind and make decisions for the long term, like signing a deal just so you can get a little bit of money up front. And now the label knows, okay, I gave them 10,000, I gave them 50,000, heck, I gave them 100,000. I'm going to own their music now for life, right? This is the other thing where when it comes to, companies wanting to buy music catalogs, sometimes artists do want to just cash in, but then, and they normally get like an 8 to 10 multiple. So if you're making 100,000 a year from your music, you can get, 800 to over $1 million for your catalog, right? But then once those 8 to 10 years go by, you got your money, but now you don't have the asset. And, most of these companies, they're not thinking just in, a couple of years, a few years. They're looking in decades. Like this thing is going to continue to pay for a very long time. And that's the mindset change that we need to have in this. Don't make, quick decisions and, just for the money right away. Make long-term decisions where you own the equity. You're building the business. But I just want you to know that you can do this. Set a goal, go for it. Don't give up on it. Write it down every day so you can see it. I talk about this in my book, Fighter. I talk the first chapter for overcoming fear is courage, willing to get in the game. The second chapter is perseverance. That's willing to continue when you do hit obstacles, when things do come in your way. And I talk about a fighter's mindset because you got to fight through this thing. You got to have willpower, and then you also need to have visions, dreams, and goals. Okay? A vision is when you write that goal down so you can see it. A dream is painting that picture of who you are today. Okay, who am I today? But who can I become in the future? Okay, and then a goal is a dream with a deadline. You got to put a deadline on it. You got to schedule it. When is the song going to be done? When is it coming out? When am I going to start doing this? When you book the studio session, when you book the release date, right? When you book the tour, when are we going to go? When are we going to plan the first day? What's going to be our first anchor date? And then build around that, right? And you just freaking go for it.